Well, good morning, everybody. I am delighted to be here at Dan's place again. This is feels like home in some respects. I recall being here recently for a performance. I can't remember when that was, but it was a while ago. In any event, I want to thank the folks at Dan's place for hosting us here today. Actually, for those who don't know, Dan's place is an anchor in the continuing revitalization of the Brookland neighborhood and offers any number of programs here for the surrounding community and the district as a whole, and has a place for artists now to live. Is that right? Yeah, so that is an addition as well. And Carla, again, I want to thank you for being such a great friend, for being a great citizen, and being a great part of the District of Columbia, along with your organization, of course. The amazing things that are happening at locations such as Dan's Place, Union Kitchen, WeWork. If you haven't been to WeWork, you ought to go there. It really is phenomenal, and I think is yet another organization that foreshadows where we're going with our digital economy here in the District of Columbia. And, of course, there are other examples as well that demonstrate, what we're doing to try to leverage the district's creative resources and create sustainable growth in the district's creative industries. As most of you know, we launched our 5-year economic development strategy in November of 2012, now just about a year and a half ago. The strategy put us on a path. There's 2 major goals there. There are 6 visions and lots of initiatives, 51 or 52 initiatives. But the principal goals are to generate 100,000 new jobs over the next 5 years, or 5 years from November of 2012, and then $1 billion in new tax revenue over those same 5 years. And for some of you who did not see the report, we made a report after the first year, which was after November of 2013. We had generated 17,750 new jobs, which, if you do the math, does have us on a course. If you just do a straight line math, that would be about, 90,000 jobs, but it is on an increasing trajectory. And then $281 million in new tax revenue, which, again, if you do the math on a straight line basis, that's well over $1 billion, really about $1.3 billion, $1.4 billion, which really is quite encouraging for our economy here in the city. While developing that broader strategy, we also discovered that there was also great potential for job and revenue growth within the district's creative industries. So we decided to create a strategy specifically targeted toward growing the district's creative economy. Hopefully people know or recognize that creative industries are critical to the district's economy and workforce, and they're an important driver for the city's vitality and growth. In fact, I don't think you can ever really be a great city unless you have a strong creative economy that at the heart of it is the arts and humanities. And we're already rich in a lot of creative assets. That's one of the reasons why we're here today, to be able to demonstrate that. The district is already brimming with incredibly intelligent and creative people. We're right in the heart of a university community here with Catholic University, and our universities have helped us with the 5-year economic development strategy, and then again with this one. By taking advantage of the opportunities offered by the district's numerous creative assets, we think we can solidify economic advances we've already made while establishing a blueprint for future economic growth. We brought together a team composed of private sector, nonprofit, and academic leaders, as well, of course, as government officials, to craft a strategy that focuses on leveraging the district's considerable creative assets. So today, I am pleased to present to you the district's creative creative economy strategy, a sector-driven strategy that aims to create 10,000 new jobs in 3 years. The primary purpose of this roadmap is to lay out a plan that allows the district government to leverage creative industries to drive economic diversification here in our continuing growing city. That, of course, would produce jobs, as we've said, with the overall economic strategy, and would expand the tax base. We'll have an opportunity to establish a clear view, a clear view of our resources and assets within the creative industries. 2, to identify our creative industries' areas of growth to help guide future allocation of resources. And 3, bring together stakeholders to implement an inclusive and robust creative economy strategy for the next several years. To design the strategy, we use the help of MBA students from Georgetown University, George Washington University, Howard University, and American University. And they were actually the universities that worked with us as well on developing the 5-year economic development strategy. They interviewed 133 stakeholders across 4 targeted sectors of the district's creative economy, and include the arts and heritage, information technology, the culinary arts, and professional services here in the city. Their input served as the foundation for building the strategy. There are 3 bold visions, which would be half the number that we have in the 5-year economic development plan. That would give us 9 bold visions overall. They focus on the private sector economic development arena, startup innovation, and tools for promoting entrepreneurial thinking in the arts community. Those visions are, 1, to become a national hub for creative startups and entrepreneurs, 2, to become a magnet for creative corporations, and 3, to foster a resilient, entrepreneurial local arts community and really build on the work that's already been done here in the city. For each one of those visions, we've spelled out tactical initiatives, which Deputy Mayor Miller will give you a few insights on a little bit later. We could not have produced the strategy without incredible support and feedback that we receive from the creative community and the private sector itself. We look forward to continuing this collaboration as we begin to implement some of the initiatives outlined in the strategy. Some of those initiatives are already in process, and you'll hear about them as we hear from our subsequent speakers. You're going to hear from Jeff Miller, as I indicated. We're going to hear from Doug Guthrie, who's been a great friend to the city, has worked with us almost the entirety of this administration, and worked with us in a very integral and vital way on the 5-year economic development strategy. He is now a professor, a visiting professor at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. And we're going to hear from Carla Perlow, also of Dance Place, who I mentioned earlier. Now, let me introduce Jeff Miller, or present Jeff Miller. I'm not introducing him. Jeff's been with us the entirety of the time as well. His role now has broadened, of course. He's going to talk more about the team, the deliverables that we've already produced, and the initiatives and how the public can learn more about the strategy. After that, you'll then hear from Doug Guthrie, who will come up right after Jeff, and then Carla will come up after Doug to talk about how organizations like hers contribute to the district's economy here in the District of Columbia. Again, I assume that we have copies of this for everybody. This, of course, is the executive summary, which is an eminently faster read than is this document. We decided to do this in the same way we did with the 5-year economic development plan. And if you don't have a copy already, you better get it quick, because we only have about 10,000 left to be able to disseminate. In any event, it is eminently readable. And I think once you start looking at this, it is a compelling read, and you probably won't be able to put it down until you complete it. So that having been said, let me bring up our Deputy Mayor, Interim Deputy Mayor, Jeff Miller.
Deputy Mayor Miller. It's still not rolling off the tongue yet, sir. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad. I'm sorry? Oh, good. I hope everybody does pick up a copy of at least the executive summary. I think some of the things you'll be surprised by are the statistics that we've been able to pull about the creative economy in the city. And when you think about a creative economy, sometimes the arts, fine arts, performing arts are the things that come to mind. But we're looking at this in much more holistically in areas such as broadcasting, media, performing arts, of course, recording studios, caterers in the culinary arts, food service contractors, architects and engineers. So a much broader, but very much taking into account the creativity and the service bases that we have here in the city. But what was surprising to me when we got into this was that, given the areas that we're focused on, 16% of our workforce is driven by the creative economy and brings in about $14 billion worth of district domestic product to the city every year. So I urge you to get into the details here, but first I want to thank the folks who are so involved in this process. The Strategy Advisory Group, led by Doug Guthrie and Sarah Kellogg, the MBA students from American University, Georgetown, and George Washington and Howard University. Karima Woods, our Deputy Director of Business Development. Nicole Sims, who's been the Director of this initiative. Pierre Bagley, who heads up our Motion Picture and Television group. Lionel Thomas, who's our Director of the D.C. Council on the Arts and Humanities. And Ellen McCarthy, if she's here, who's our Director of the Office of Planning. While this initiative is being rolled out today, we've already gotten ourselves involved with the creative economy over the last several years. One of the ones you may have heard about, the groups we've helped recently, Pigmental Studios, which produces animated content for films, television, and gaming. Union Kitchen, who you were introduced to outside. Union Kitchen has a facility over in near Noma, and they're opening a second facility over in Ward 5, over near the old Hex building. Jonas and Cullen are here somewhere. I see Cullen up in the back. Thanks, guys. CBS Radio has moved to the ballpark area of the waterfront. We were happy to bring them and their 6 studios to the city. And finally, WeWork, which has moved into the Wonder Bread factory and is opening. Is a co-working space. All of these are very important to the creative economy and critical to our mission for job growth and diversifying the city's economy. With a strategy, as the mayor pointed out, there are 34 actionable initiatives that will help guide us towards achieving these strategies and 3 bold visions for the economy. Some of these initiatives include establishing incentives for incubators and accelerators that provide creative organizations with shared space, creating a streamlined and more flexible permitting process for small business. You may have heard that we're putting together a One City portal that will help all businesses streamline the process of all permitting and licensing. Create a fund to provide microgrants to creative initiatives that yield significant and near-term positive outcomes. Expand existing workforce development programs to prepare local residents for careers in hospitality and the culinary arts. And partner with universities to offer technical assistance to creative organizations to help with key marketing, business, and planning initiatives. That's just a handful of the initiatives we have, and they're detailed more clearly in both the executive summary and in the more in-depth report. But to stick with a culinary metaphor, this city has all the ingredients to be successful. We have a growing population, growing at more than 1,000 people a month, of well-educated, diverse, and young employees who want to live and work in the city. We have the entrepreneurial spirit to create new businesses, and most importantly, we have a market in which in one of the most active economies in the country. And now we have a strategy, a framework for bringing this recipe together, and I'm very excited to be able to roll it out today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor, for inviting me to be a part of this process. And thank you more generally for allowing me to be a part of what has been just an incredibly exciting and vibrant process over really the last 4 years. I started actually working with the city shortly after I moved here about 4 years ago, and I believe in January, the mayor and I started having conversations about what it is that we could all do together. That led to a number of different things that built up and eventually culminated in our participation in the 5-year economic development strategy, which was a wonderful experience. And it was not just a wonderful experience because of what it showed me that this city could be, but it also showed me how brilliant the leadership and the institutions are that really come together in a city like this to build something fabulous and really is, in my opinion, unprecedented in the work that I've done with economic development in a variety of places around the city, around the country, and around the world. That then led to another process, which was, let's do it again. Let's go deeper, and let's really talk about an area of the economy that is so vital and so important for the development of the economy, but also for the launching of this city into the next century. We all know very well that the economy in the United States and around the world has changed dramatically in the last 50 years. And 50 years ago, if you would have looked at what a creative economy is, it essentially would have been thought of as the arts and the art community that really bind the cultural production together. Over the course of about the last 20 years, particularly with the path-breaking work of Richard Florida and how much traction that work has gotten in the area of economic development, we've all realized that actually the creative economy is so much larger than we have previously thought. The creative economy includes all kinds of things that range from the arts and broadcasting and music and entertainment through advertising and all sorts of innovative industries that really are about knowledge creation and idea generation. And for a city that is actually going to be at the leading edge of thinking about economic development in the 21st century, we have to be able to create an infrastructure that catapults those types of ideals forward. So when we took the plan of going deep in the creative economy, that was our charge, to really kind of think broadly about what this all means. And so as the Deputy Mayor mentioned, this was not just a plan that was a thin slice about arts, although arts is a cornerstone of everything that we do. The arts and humanities is a really underlying piece of the puzzle. And if you look at the great technology companies of today, they will tell you that they are all about the intersection of technology and the humanities. And so the ability to actually pull the arts out and leverage that as a way of thinking very deeply about economic development is one of the most exciting prospects that a city can walk up into. Now, what we did is we started very broadly with that concept, and we thought about how do we actually break that concept down and really think deeply about the economic development process and then testing some of those ideas from a modeling standpoint. And so our process, and before I just mention a few things about substance, I just want to mention about the process. The mayor talked about how many people we went out into the community and talked to, and that was a very important part of the process. I stand before you today just as a representative of an entire collective effort that was really a citywide and city government collective effort. There are so many people that contributed so much time and energy to this that I can't even begin to name them all. And so I just want to thank all of you for being a part of that. Many of the people in this room showed up at 5, 10, 15 meetings to talk about these issues over and over again just because they were passionate about being a part of that process. So we went out into the community, we talked to people, we started to refine those ideas, and we really saw those ideas as breaking down into 3 large buckets. One big bucket is really about this broad concept of what a creative economy is. How do you actually think about the creative economy that sits at one of the positions in the economy that is an economic driver of all economies, that is the corporate sector. So when you start to think about organizations like Microsoft or Google or any of the other large-scale organizations that come into this city, if they start to think of us not just as a government town, but as a place that has a vibrant economy, and not just a vibrant economy, but one of the richest knowledge capitals in the world. Our human capital in this city per capita is better than any place in the United States and probably better than any place in the world. And if we can start to think about leveraging that human capital to create a dynamic in which corporations say, we're not just going to K Street to be a lobbying organization. We are coming to D.C. because this is where the knowledge economy is happening. And so that was a first piece of it. But then you have to marry that with a very small-scale entrepreneurial approach to this development of this economy, because really where the ideas happen are in people's garages, in their parents' basements, in incubators like 1776 in Union Kitchen. These are the places that make for vibrant economic development. And if we can figure out how to foster this place, we don't necessarily want to be Silicon Valley or Route 128. We want to be better than them at fostering small-scale entrepreneurial development. And I think over the last 4 years, you can already see that type of ideal populating this district. There are so many examples of the fact, and many of the people that we talk to are people that relocated here from New York City because they said, this is a better place for startups. This is a better place for innovation. And so this creative economy plan, the second pillar, was really about building that out and making sure that we have the right policies in place, but also the right institutions that are being seeded by the government to really help this develop. And I think we're already a long distance into that from what I've seen over the last 4 years. The third part of this, then, is to really not forget the traditional part of the creative economy that's so important. Arts, humanities, heritage are so important. And this city, of course, does very well in the large-scale sectors of that area. But we want to make sure we're also doing very well on the entrepreneurial side. How do we support the local arts organizations, communities, and individuals that populate the very diverse neighborhoods of this city? And so that was sort of the three-pronged vision that really came out as we started looking at this. And then our final step was to continue to test that with the community, to feed that back over and over again, refine it, and then put it through an engine of economic modeling that really tested the ideas of how a strategic plan translates into resource allocation. And so that was the process, and I will just say it was a breathtaking process. It was so much fun. And one of the best things about this type of process for me, and I feel honored and privileged to be a part of the work that your administration has done, Mr. Mayor, is that you make so many friends along the way. And so I just want to thank everybody in this room who's been a part of the process, and I want to thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor, for allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out to Dance Place today. We've actually been closed for a year. We reopened June 7th. And I want to thank the mayor for his great vision and his great leadership. He was here at the groundbreaking, and what an honor to have you here in our wonderful new space. I want to thank his whole entire team at his office for supporting us and having the vision that creativity is really at the core of having a great city. Not just the arts, but creativity in every way. I'm a firm believer in that one of the great problems that we have as adults is that some of us are no longer involved in creative pursuits, whatever those are, whether they're culinary, literary, dancing, painting. We know that that adds so much to children's lives. And we all want our children to be creative because we know it helps them to think in new directions and solve problems. But what happens to us when we get older? If we don't stay active and creative, we oftentimes get depressed. So I encourage you after today to not only read this wonderful report, but let it inspire you to add creativity into your life. Go to a performance. Come to our free music and dance events right up on the plaza every Thursday and Friday night. Come to my class Saturday morning. Just put your sweat clothes on. We'll be here with live music. Pick up a paintbrush. Get involved in your own creativity. Cook a great meal for somebody. And you'll see that it'll really bring brightness to your life and start you thinking in a new direction. Yes, everyone wants to see a corporation that's beautifully designed. You walk in, it feels creative. You know it's happening. You know the leadership values creativity and beauty and art, and it makes you want to be a part of that corporation. Or a school. Is it gray with grates on the window? Or does it have a garden out front and it's painted? These are indications of what the leadership is about, and their intent, and their willingness to say, I want my children in this school to be creative. I want my employees to be creative, because that is really what unlocks the secrets to all the challenges that we face. Dance Place would not be here in Brookland if I had not been displaced from Adams Morgan. How many people went to Dance Place when it was in Adams Morgan? That's going to really show our age. Thanks, George. George is here, the founder of Artomatic. So I moved back to Washington, D.C. This is my home, and I moved back in 1975 to work with Jan Van Dyke at 2424 18th Street, the biggest building in Adams Morgan. And I dedicated my life to dancing there as a young dancer and choreographer, performer, teacher for 10 years. And then the building was sold, and I was told I had 30 days to get out, or my rent would quadruple from $1,500 a month in 1986 to $6,000 a month. So I moved. And I was lucky to find this welding warehouse that was vacant. I had never been to Brookland before. If this is your first time to Brookland, would you raise your hand, please? Great, you found us. Terrific. We're easy to get to. If this is your first time at Dance Place, would you raise your hand? Wow, fantastic. So we moved here with the help of a lot of people, particularly DHCD, and our beloved, the late Victor Selman, who I'll be forever grateful for, and Russell Simmons, that gave us our first loan, 3% interest, so we could buy this building. We bought the building for $210,000. People thought I had lost my mind because there were no other arts institutions here except the Harkey Theater. Now everybody thinks it was a smart move. Sometimes it takes a lifetime. I want to thank DHCD, Victor Selman, Jay Green, whose vision it was to build the art space building so that artists would have a place to live and work next to us. And I want to thank Michael Kelly, who's the director now of DHCD, for his great vision and understanding of the importance of Dance Place, of art space, and the new arts park that we want to create between the two buildings for our community. I want to thank Lionel Thomas, D.C. Commission on the Arts and Humanities, for his great leadership and his passion for the arts, and his entire staff, and Jennifer Cover-Payne with Cultural Alliance. Kenyon McDuffie, whose children take class at our dance studio, and Debbie Smith-Steiner, our ANC representative, whose son grew up in our youth program. Dance Place is a school for dance, a place where dancers can rehearse, a place where choreographers create new works, a place where the public gets to see performances every single weekend, and it has a creative spirit that welcomes the community in to feel a part of a creative network where we can collectively make a real difference. You're going to have a chance to ask the mayor questions, and then you're going to get to see our wonderful STEP team that's here for the summer practicing. You're in the middle of summer camp. We've moved all the kids to other spaces so that we could be here today, but really we have 80 young people on campus every day and 20 counselors every single day here working in a creative way to make sure that children develop in a positive way. We thank you so much for being here, and we hope that you'll come back to performances or Saturday morning at 9:30 for my class. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Carla. Thank you for hosting us today. Boy, 1975 seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? But we appreciate your perseverance and your willingness to stick it out. And I don't want to be premature, but I really think we've turned the corner in that regard. And I want to thank you for your contribution to helping to make that happen. All right. We'll be happy to take any questions that you all may have on the creative economy from the media. Tom?
Mr. Mayor, how much city grant money has gone to Dance Place to help make it what it is? Just kind of a total figure?
There's money been from the Arts and Humanities Commission. We've had money, I guess, from DHCD. I don't know if there's anybody in the room in the aggregate. I don't want to do approximations because approximations have a way of taking on a life of their own. We'll get you the number, Tom. But I suspect, Carla, you've received grants from several different organizations in the government. Is that right? I know at least two: Commission on Arts and Humanities and DHCD. And then the.
I just wanted the ballpark figures.
Well, DHCD made a $500,000 contribution to the capital campaign.
Grant,
And
right?
annually, of course, the DC Commission, that budget changes. So
I'm sorry, you're on live cable TV if you want to.
I'm going to caution you, Carla, to find out what those numbers are, because whatever numbers you give now, you'll hear them back, and if they need to be refined, you may not get an opportunity to do that, okay?
CDBG grants, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Awarded and completed.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you all very much. Before we move on to questions on other topics, I do want to make a special announcement. We have our library CEO with us today, our chief librarian, which I guess is the technical title, right, Richard? Anyway, how about our Nationals? They're in first place. Anybody watch the All-Star game last night? It actually was a very good game. It was the Derek Jeter All-Star game last night because it was his last performance. But the Nationals did have one of ours, at least that I saw anyway, Tyler Clippard, who pitched part of an inning and did a pretty good job while he was in there. It's amazing. As somebody who was a baseball player, it's amazing to watch how hard these people throw. 90 miles an hour is now not even fast anymore. You got people throwing at 95, 96 miles an hour in the sky from Cincinnati. I think it's Aroldis Chapman. He throws routinely at 100 miles an hour. Can you imagine a hard ball coming at you at 100 miles an hour? That'll bail you out quick, won't it? In any event, we are proud of our Nationals. The national organization this past spring entered into a partnership with the D.C. Public Library and is serving as a representing sponsor for the 2014 summer reading program. In addition, the Nationals Dream Foundation made a grant of $4,000 to the D.C. Public Library Foundation. And then they used that cash to purchase baseball-themed books. Didn't just purchase; they actually were created. Is that right?
No, there's
This is just part of it, right?
this is part of it.
Okay. You know what? Why don't you come up? I'll let you say a few words. Come on up, Richard. The summer reading program is composed of age-specific initiatives that the Nationals are supporting in a host of ways. We have kids up to the age of 5 who receive a public library soft baseball. That sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? A soft baseball. A soft hardball, how's that? District students between the ages of 6 and 12 who sign up for the program receive an activity book, which some of you undoubtedly have seen, and then those who are 6 to 18 enrolled in the program are rewarded with 2 free tickets to select Nationals games as a reward for reaching the summer reading goal of having read for 8 hours. Let me just mention something else, then I'm going to ask Richard to say a few words, and that is that we've got some people who are connected with the Nationals who are going to be at libraries on Saturday, this coming Saturday, July 19th. The manager, Matt Williams, his wife, Erica, and their daughter, Madison, will be at the Tinley Library at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning to read to folks. Outfielder Scott Harrison will be at the Deanwood Library, and he will read to folks. Denard Spann, who actually is a native Washingtonian, for those of you who don't know that. Denard Spann has really taken this on, and is not just a cameo or just an image. He really has invested himself thoroughly in the work of the libraries, the work of reading in the District of Columbia. We really want to thank him. As a matter of fact, if you look and see, you see it up there, he is on the cover of this document that encourages reading this summer. And then he will be at the Anacostia Library on Saturday at noon on Good Hope Road. And then Drew Storin, who is one of our relief pitchers, which may be the best bullpen in Major League Baseball at this stage. He will be at the Mount Pleasant Library at 3100 16th Street Northwest. Anyway, I want to encourage people to encourage our kids to read. We've got a number of weeks left in the summer. It's a great antidote for loss, skill loss among our children in the city. And every young person who attends one of these readings with the Nationals will receive his or her own baseball-themed book. And then on September 8th, I think it's September 8th, the Nationals will recognize the D.C. Public Libraries in a pregame ceremony that will represent all of our 26 branches of our libraries. And we now have redone, rebuilt, modernized, I think 17 of the 26. Yeah, about 20. So we're on our way to getting all of them done in the years ahead. Anyway, for those of you who have information, there's a fact sheet on this program. And I want to thank the Nationals for having stepped out. That's what sports teams do. That's what professional sports teams do. They involve themselves in the community. And this is a great example of the professional sports team, in this case, baseball team, involving itself in an important endeavor here in the District of Columbia. And please join me in welcoming Richard, who is our CEO, our librarian, and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
I'll just be 30 seconds. The mayor more or less said everything I wanted to say. Plugging the July 19th visit from the Nationals. The Nationals have been absolutely phenomenal to the library. I just want to underscore a couple of things. The summer reading program, while it's a lot of fun and there are squishy balls and that sort of thing, it is really a crucial program that we need to think about. We're trying to reach about 12,000 kids this summer. And the mayor mentioned Summer Slide, which is a different slide than what Denard Span typically thinks about when he's running the bases. It's a real problem. So kids typically lose 2 to 3 months of what they've learned the previous school year when they don't engage in any sort of literacy activities over the summer. So summer reading is a program that's designed to more or less extend the school year to a 12-month process. And that's why we take it as seriously as we do. We don't let the kids know that we're taking it seriously, but we certainly do. And that's really all I wanted to say about the summer reading program. I did want to just mention very quickly, since we are here to talk about the creative economy, that our libraries are now really functioning as an incubator for such of the great thinking happening around the district. Certainly at the MLK Library, our digital commons with our 3D printers and our espresso bookmaking machine, and our partnership with organizations like 1776, those libraries are really providing a great equalizer for folks who don't have spaces to collaborate and work together. So I'm happy to be here to be part of that creative economy discussion as well. And again, I want to thank the mayor for all of his support for the libraries. He really was the person who brought me here, and it's just a great place to be. And have a great summer. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you for underscoring the library's role in the creative economy strategy as well. I think one of the things that people are going to do, not to be flippant or disrespectful, but I think people are going to learn more about what the creative economy is in the city. It is much more vast than what people might think, and I think we're going to learn in the weeks and months and years ahead what an essential role it plays in the growth of any city of the complexity and magnitude of this one. And you're going to see it happening in similar ways in other cities as well. And again, not to be crass, but it will make an important contribution to our financial wherewithal as well in the city. Let me see. Do we do the step now? Okay. Carla, you mentioned the folks, the step routine which if you don't know what a step routine is, you will learn very quickly. Did you want to introduce them before we? Okay.
I want to thank my staff, GDSD co-director Deborah Riley, and nothing makes us prouder than someone who grew up in this neighborhood, attaches themselves to Dance Place, grows up in the youth program, gets inspired by Step Africa during summer camp, and then says, let's have the Dance Place step team. So Donna Kearney is now the director of our youth program. She's the director of the step team. And what you're going to see today is a demonstration of the summer camp steppers. And so if they could come forward, and we're going to move this. Judy? They're going to come on, and they're going to do the whole thing. They don't need me. At the end of today's presentation, if you'd like to see the rest of the building, we'll take you on a tour for the building, and then you can go up and see the Edgewood Arts Center and Studio 21 in the Monroe Street Market. So please welcome to the Dance Place stage, the Dance Place Step Team.
Other topics? Tom?
Mr. Mayor, I want to ask you about Pedro, but I don't want to waste time.
Well, you are an expert on it.
Yes, I am. Tonight at midnight, pot decriminalization takes effect. Is the police department, is the city ready?
We think we are. There's nothing that no indication I've had from Deputy Mayor Quander or Chief Lanier, they were not ready. As you well know, we've had the assistance of Congress, as we often do, on this issue. And we have indicated that we don't need any assistance from Congress on this, as no other jurisdiction has asked for any assistance from Congress when they pass a local or state law. We course, passed local and state laws combined. So we are ready to move ahead with implementation of the new law, as we do with other laws when they become effective in the District of Columbia. Sam?
Mr. Mayor, I don't think I've asked you about this, but the D.C. Council did override your veto. What's your reaction to that?
Well, you know, we were very clear. We wanted to make it clear to the council. We wanted to make it clear to the people of the District of Columbia that there were just aspects of this budget that me, in good conscience, I just couldn't sign that budget. You know, we had three options, Sam. One was to sign it, which was never an option for me. We could have sent it back with a letter unsigned, but that would have gotten very little attention. Or we could have vetoed it and brought attention to the areas that we had problems with. And we were very clear. I think most of you got a copy of the letter. I've talked to many of you since we issued the veto. You know, and those areas include what happened with the property taxes for seniors, which was one of the most popular things that, you know, we during all of our town hall meetings. We had 8 town hall meetings, then we had 2 additional special town hall meetings. We even had one that focused specifically on seniors, and that was one of the most popular features of the budget. And the council changed it. They went in another direction. They took a substantial chunk of the money and used it for other purposes. I'm not even sure what those purposes were. There was the fitness tax, which we think we just don't understand. I don't understand it. You know, we want to encourage people to stay fit in the District of Columbia, and this has potentially the effect of discouraging people from doing that. Much of the money for the streetcar program was stripped out. 78% of that money was stripped out, ostensibly initially to be used for tax cuts, and then the CFO said you can't do that because that's one-time money. So now what we have is the streetcar money having been stripped out. The likelihood of a streetcar program in the foreseeable future is really slim. We think that it could take until 2045 to have a street program, even if the money is made available. We think that that takes away an option that would be important to the District of Columbia, not only in terms of transportation, but also in terms of economic development as well. We've seen how it has worked in Portland. I've been to Portland twice. I've ridden the streetcars there. There's an area called the Pearl District that was substantially economically and socially rejuvenated as a result of their streetcar program. And this really kicks right in the teeth the opportunity that we think was available with the streetcar program. The budget also eliminates a first-time homebuyer program for District of Columbia employees, which to me has the impact of being able to recycle dollars. You know, when people who work for the District of Columbia government not only work for the government, but live in the District of Columbia, we think that's good for the city. They live in our neighborhoods. They have a civic presence, and again, from a financial perspective, it recycles the dollars. And then, you know, less so for me, but for future mayors, it also had the effect of substantially reducing the ability of mayors to be able to manage the city, especially around, for example, the contingency cash program, because of the constraints that are being placed on that. Frankly, to be honest with you, I would have been shocked if it hadn't been overridden because of the initial vote. But we wanted to make a statement about the importance of this, and that was what this was about, Sam.
And yeah. Mayor, as you're, I guess, heading toward January, I mean, is it rough, this status where you're on the way out? And Marion Barry, in an interview, said, well, if he were still going to be mayor, it would have probably been different. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, it is what it is at this stage. One can speculate about any number of things. I choose not to do that. I have indicated that, you know, as long as I am in this job, I will do this job as effectively as I possibly can. And that's what I will continue to do, Sam.
So on the subject, you know, the race is on right now. Who's going to be your successor? Who's going to replace you? There's been some, the Democratic nominee has said that she's not going to engage in any debates until later in the year. Do you have a position on that? Do you think that that's a good idea or not?
No, I think each candidate has to do what she or he believes is the best way to make her or his case. I could only speak for myself. I could look at my record. I've gotten out there, every time I've run for anything and engaged as much as I possibly can with the people of the city. But I think the three candidates have to make those decisions for themselves, and I'm sure they will along the way. We still have a substantial amount of time to go, and we'll hear more from each one of them individually and collectively, I'm sure. Will?
Michael Kelly asked Muriel Bowser to hold another hearing on Park Southern, or he asked her again to hold a hearing on Park Southern. Is there a sense from your administration that she's avoiding holding a hearing on it?
I don't know. I'll ask Michael to come up. Since you mentioned Michael, he happens to be right there in the second row, so he can speak quite well for himself. And I'll let him do that. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I don't believe so. I think that she's the action she asked today for the Inspector General to get involved shows that she's proactively wanting to get to problem solve along with the mayor to make sure that there's a stabilization of the property, that the finances are in order, and most importantly, that affordability is maintained there.
If we could follow up on that, just the Washington Post stories, Aaron Davis has laid out a pretty damning situation about what's happening at Park Southern. An IG investigation could take months, certainly months going past the November election. What is the status of that building that seems to be poorly run, politically torn apart? What are you doing to make sure the tenants are taken care of during all this mess?
We've actually taken control of the property, instilled a property management company that basically works for the city.
Did you replace Vincent Jones? Was he the manager that you replaced?
His
company?
He was in between. He was a property manager, sort of in between.
He's the one who collected the $300,000 that has it been turned in yet?
There was an accounting that came in yesterday.
Was it the full amount?
We're still analyzing it right now. But
this is not business as usual. I think I'm trying to say. Is this business as usual?
Well, I think that there's a lot of properties that have challenges, and this is one in which the level of default around both the administration of the finances as well as the physical property created this sort of unusual situation for us to intercede at this point, take control of the management, stabilize the financing, stabilize the property management conditions there, and looking forward to working to long-term refinancing of the property so that it's long-term affordability.
Has the FBI or the U.S. Attorney contacted the city at all about this property?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. I don't know about the FBI. Yes, yeah. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, we're working closely with the Office of Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney to ensure that whatever. Yes.
Thank you.
Following up on that, Mr. Jones has made an offer to purchase and then amended that offer. Last week, you said that wasn't sufficient. Has he made any more? Has he contacted you any more about a follow-up offer, about a new offer?
No, he has not.
And will you make? What's the process going forward? Will that be public? Because it's the city. It is now a city-controlled property, but
correct.
That seems to be characterized as still a private transaction.
No, well, it has to go through the tenant opportunity to purchase program if indeed that's going to be the avenue. The city has a variety of avenues in terms of trying to get long-term ownership and long-term control. The tenant opportunity to purchase program is one of those, and it's a very transparent process, and that's what we would share to finance and anyone else, that it has to be something that goes through the tenant leadership and that gets back to us in a very formal way.
Legally, my understanding is if this does go to foreclosure, there's a possibility that it might not be affordable housing anymore.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. No, that is not the case. We have the ability to ensure affordability covenants in the event that it is foreclosed and goes to an auction. Yeah.
Either one of you both cooperate with the Inspector General's investigation?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is something that, we're working very closely with the Inspector General and have been for a while. This is something that we have been looking to engage the assistance of all the appropriate, the Internal Revenue Service and all the other folks that have been appropriate. We've already contacted those folks in that regard.
Can you say if there's an active investigation then by the IRS Criminal Division?
No, I don't know.
Muriel Bowser, as chairman of the Housing Committee of the Council, has she ever asked you or approached you about any other housing matter in the city?
Oh, absolutely.
On any particular specific management problem, or just in general policy?
Well, again, as the chair of the Economic Development Committee, there's a lot of things that cross her desk, both that have brought to her attention by her colleagues or by constituents. So it's an ongoing dialogue I have with the chairperson.
She's personally intervened in other management issues.
She asked for briefings on various subjects from time to time.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, Muriel Bowser 2 years ago, in July of 2012, asked that, you should resign because you were distracted by all the legal matters that were going on. And now there's some suggestions from the news stories that she was trying to reinstall people to run this Park Southern place. What are your own thoughts about it?
I think we should let this investigation continue, Tom. This has been going for quite some time. It is now in the media, of course, but the investigation has been unfolding for months. And I think it would be premature and inappropriate for us to start commenting on an ongoing investigation. That's precisely what we'll do. We'll continue. DHCD will be very involved in that. We were the ones who asked for the intervention of the OAG, the OIG, the USAO, and whatever initials you also want to throw into any others. So I'm sure they're all involved in it, and I really think it would be just not productive to start talking about an ongoing investigation. All right. Thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen.